Wang Jing has been on a mission of churning as much as possible regardless of quality. His foray in the Chinese web film market has further fueled this with his recent release of the classic Jet Li film The Swordsman 2 and remade it for the modern audience. The story sees Ling Wuchong, a student of the Huang sect, meeting up with a friend, Ying, of the frowned-upon demonic cult. Their meeting is interrupted and Ling is brought back to Huang to face disciplinary action. Ling opts to destroy his own martial arts abilities and leave the martial world behind. Ling is saved by his grandmaster Feng, who also bestows upon him his new martial arts ability, and they both live in seclusion. Ling is once again brought into the martial world with the threat of the all-powerful Invincible East. Unknown to Lin, he bumps into Invincible East and they begin to have a romance, but their love is not to be, and due to various ploys and double-crossing, Lin confronts Invincible East in the final showdown. As with his terrible take on the new Kung Fu Cult Master, which was also released on streaming, Wang Jing has taken again the cheap approach for Invincible Swordsman, though this time directing duties is given to Luo Yiwei, whose only other notable work is a web film Sword Dawn. The whole film comes off as low budget, lighting is mostly rather flat with only the odd occasion possessing a brief semblance of quality. The sets themselves are also very fake with little texture to them. In fact, when they show close-ups of the foot stomping on the ground or a pillar, you can clearly see the set flexing. The story falters quite a bit. There does not seem to be an urgency in the story. Things just happen with little build-up or tension. For example, Lin choosing to destroy his martial arts skills, but he is saved immediately and his skills restored. He goes from seclusion to back to the martial world in just a few scenes. Ling falling in love with Invincible East happens very rapidly. The original Swordsman films were deeply intertwined with the martial world and how dark and treacherous it is, and it was a story of bond between Lin and his fellow students and how they were trying to leave the life behind. The original film handled the relationship really well, but here they barely have any time with Lin, and when they do spend time together, it's so manufactured, especially how the classic song A Song of Laughter in the Vast Sea is injected to the scene. There are hints of Invincible East's characterization, but they never delve too deep into her character, which is a missed opportunity. Tim Huang Xiyan stars as Ling Wuchong, and sadly I feel that he's heavily miscast in the role. Tim looks uneasy in the role and his carefree nature feels forceful. Every time he's supposed to elicit a laugh of joy, it feels fake. Poor Kitty Zhang tries so hard to channel her Bridget Lin, but Lin has made the Invincible East into such an icon. Zhang fails to bring any of her own stance to the character, though she does possess the piercing gaze and stoic form just fine. Sadly, the romance between Lin and Invincible is so haphazardly put together, it never felt natural in this film. This is more due to the poor writing and direction given. Their first meeting was very forceful and the dialogue they exposit never felt natural, and this is the same for their subsequent meetings. The worst of them is Terrence Jing as Ren Wuxing, who's this highly competent martial arts master and father of Ying Ying. Terrence Jing is given this fake hair and beard to age him, but he's still way too young to look the part, especially as a highly powerful individual in the martial world. Then we have his performance, which is over the top. Sammo Hung is only a guest appearance and has very little to do. He does not get to fight, and either the Mandarin version or the Cantonese version, his voice is a bit off. Cantonese is his natural voice, but never seemed to properly match his lips, and the Mandarin version he is dubbed by someone else. Famous Chinese actor Wu Yu, who is known for playing the Tai Chi master opposite Donnie Yen in Ip Man 4, is credited as producer and also serves as action director. Action choreography is actually pretty decent, though it's most focused on waifu aspect with heavy helping of CGI. Having just watched Cho Hak version of The Legend of Condor, Invincible Swordsman actually possesses more in terms of martial arts fights. We actually see swords clashing and people actually use their weapons to try and hit their opponent, opposed to an excessive amount of CG power blast. The opening one-on-one fight actually shows very impressive wire work and is blended with the right amount of actual physicality, CG and wires. The midpoint has a very impressive forest fight scene as the combatants weave in and out of the trees, evading and clashing weapons. Matters helped by the variety of weapons being used. Things do start to slow down during the latter half of the film, with it being more focused on the portrayals, conflicts and romance. The ending fight is a tad underwhelming considering what has come before, but it still possesses some fine wire work. The ending is also marred by some very bad CG background and a very cheap looking set. As a web film, the film is reasonably entertaining despite the underwhelming story and cheap looking sets. It possesses some decent waifu and is not hampered by the over-reliance on CG.
冲！你且下山去吧。